Hello world, I'm Doris Hall James and welcome to the Indie Show. This afternoon my guest is Jimmy Williams. Jimmy Williams has played for the OJs for 40 years plus. This afternoon Jimmy brings to you a wealth of information about the entertainment business as well as his contributions and gifts he has shared with the music world. Let's welcome Jimmy Williams. How are you, Jimmy?
I'm doing fine. And you?
I'm doing good. Welcome to the Indie Show.
Glad to be here.
Okay. Now, before we begin our interview, I want to go to my left and I want to say, hello, Dennis. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Look up, Dennis. Okay. And Dennis Harris was with us about a month or so ago, maybe 6 weeks ago.
About 6 weeks.
And we
like
went
that.
through his
Yep.
musical journey with him. And if you remember, he played guitar for MFSB.
Yep.
Okay, welcome back on the Indie Show.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Okay, Jimmy, now, with all that time you spent with the OJs, let's go before the OJs,
Okay.
Let's start from the beginning. How did you get involved in all of this music?
Well, first of all, before I even played the instrument, I was in a vocal group called the Italics, and I guess I might have been around 18 years old in high school at that time, and aspired to be like a successful vocal group, and got a chance to do some contests and won contests and that sort of thing in the New Jersey area, and then I ran into.
You used to sing.
Yes, I used to sing. Yeah, I
sang.
sang in a singing group before I actually played bass, and didn't get introduced to what a bass was until I met Winnie Wilford, which was the bassist for Kenny Gamble and the Romeos.
Okay.
And at that time, he came to one of our rehearsals, and he came with his bass to practice with us, and he pulled out an Ampeg bass, and at that point in time, I was struck at that point. I saw.
That was it.
Yeah,
huh?
that was it. And that was it
Okay.
when I saw that instrument. Yes. Yep.
Okay, so before playing the bass, you used to sing in vocal groups.
Yes.
And that was here in Philadelphia?
No, that was in New Jersey.
Was in New
that was
Jersey?
in New Jersey. It was high school. High school.
Oh,
group.
high school?
High school group at the time, and we competed, with a lot of, other groups if they had contests, that sort of thing, and it was like a four-man singing group, and like a 13-piece band. Yeah, it's pretty big organization, and we was managed by a doctor. His name was Dr. Spates at the time.
Okay.
And did that until I saw bass, and followed Gamble and them, watching them, and do different shows down Loretta's Hi-Hat.
Oh, Loretta's
Yeah,
Hi-Hat.
Loretta's
I
Hi-Hat
remember
on
that.
was
Longside?
yeah, Longside, New Jersey,
Yeah.
on White Horse Pike. That was the first time that I saw them. It was they were there. They were the featured act, and they had, I think it was like Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. They were there, and the Intruders. They were there at the time, and I was pretty smitten with with Gamble and them. We at the time we had like a pretty good sized band, and they had made about 4 or 5 pieces, and they came in and squashed us at the time. With what they had, which they had Winnie Wilford, he was on bass, and Leon Huff, he was on keyboards, and who was it? Call and Roland Chambers. That was their group, and they were big. They sounded really well. So I just followed behind them to see what they were going to do over the years, and. The next time I probably ran into, them was like when they had, started their first label, when they had the label over top of the Schubert building.
On Spruce Street?
Yeah, no. It was still on Broad Street at the time. On Broad Street at the time.
Okay.
Matter of fact, it was like PRR now was like right up the street.
That's when you ran into them again.
Yeah,
Okay.
and was trying to, get them to take an interest in, like me at that time, as far as playing bass and what have you. And that's where I met T Life at. Ran in T Life there, and Bunny Sigler. Bunny Sigler as well. So
Okay.
that was my beginning experience.
Well, how did you meet Dennis?
I met Dennis through coming from out of recording for Norman Harris. Recording for Norman Harris, and then like I said, Gamble came over, and he had the opportunity to take a listen, to I guess that's what he was doing at the time. He came in, he was standing on top of the console. And so I think he was just pretty much listening to what I was doing at the time. And I finally got a call from, his secretary, Elaine Johnson, had called me and wanted me to come over and do an audition.
Okay.
So, like I was saying before, I stopped everything.
You were excited?
I was excited, very excited.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
I was, so.
Okay. Now, let me ask you a couple questions.
Mm-hmm.
How did you meet Johnny Croom?
Oh, Johnny Croom?
Yes.
I'm
curious to know.
Okay.
Okay.
I met Johnny. Johnny's a good person, good man. I met him through Fred. Fred Holiday.
Okay.
Like Fred. Fred is like brother material. For me. I've been knowing him. Since I was playing
Now,
with you.
Freddie is the drummer.
Yeah, the drummer.
Okay.
Now the like the drummer for the OJs.
Okay.
And I met Johnny through Fred, and him and Fred are really close friends.
Okay.
And so Johnny got a pretty good spirit. He's got a pretty good spirit. Yeah. Yes.
He's I'm amazed that all of you guys know each other.
Yeah, over time.
I mean, everybody knows each other.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yes,
over time it usually happens.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere along the line, you're going to run into somebody, and then you'll spend enough time to really try to get a feel for, who is who.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't take long, as far as me, communicating with Johnny and what have you. So we're pretty comfortable with each other.
Okay.
And he likes to try to make sure, sure things or some organization of things.
Well,
And
Johnny, I want to shout out to Johnny because he's really a good person.
Yes, he is.
And he's a sincere person. And when he came on the show, he was kind of bashful.
Yeah.
He said, "I don't know why you're having me on this show and everything."
Right.
But he's done so good on,
Right.
with the interview, and I just want to thank him
Right.
for coming on the show.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, so now let's go back. Before we get into the OJs, let's talk about during high school you were in a vocal group,
Mm-hmm.
but you were also playing football.
Yes.
Okay, so what
This
made
is
you decide on the music?
Well, I decided on the music because like during the wintertime, the ground gets really pretty hard. It gets pretty hard.
Okay.
And like I said, you get smashed around a few times, and it
gets cold out
it gets
there.
cold out there, and that ground is non-forgiving. So I said, I think I'm going to make this move and go ahead and get off into the music business and what have you. So that's how that came about, me getting into the music.
Okay. Okay. And so now, you're self-taught on the bass?
Well, I started off, when I first started, playing bass. Pretty much I did, I was self-taught, to a certain degree, and then I started, taking formal lessons, I had a private teacher, that my father had introduced me to when I was working out.
Was he into music too?
Who, my father?
Mhm.
No.
Okay.
I was pretty much, I had a brother that attempted to play guitar, but he didn't make it, so it was just me, playing bass. And had a private lesson, from this individual that worked down at Campbell Soup at the time, and he would come over, to my home at the time on the weekends, to give me lessons. He Driscoll, that was his last name, and he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
He passed away. I went to Haddonfield Music Conservatory.
Okay.
I did that for a minute, and finally, I met Dennis Sandoli, which was a well-known, teacher in Philadelphia, in the Philadelphia area, and he taught, individuals like, Coltrane.
Oh, all right.
What's my man who played the bagpipes?
Bagpipe.
Yeah.
Rufus Hawley.
Rufus Hawley taught Rufus
Yeah,
Hawley.
I don't know that.
Rufus.
Well, I
Hawley.
just took the shot to see you might know.
Okay.
Okay.
But he taught Rufus Hawley some. He had some
And on the
jazz.
bagpipe.
Jazz heavyweights. Coming out of Philadelphia,
Okay.
keyboard players.
Okay. All right. So then we go back to, was it Willie Wilford?
Winnie Wilford.
Winnie. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when you first heard him play the bass?
Well, I had heard him. While he was with Gamble and them, he
Okay.
did do some recording work. A lot of the some of the earlier stuff that the Intruders did. He did some recording work, and I think he also did some stuff with Barbara Mason too.
All right.
At the time they had Kenny Gamble and the Romeos. They did somewhat quite a bit of the earlier recordings.
Okay. So let's talk about when you were called for the audition.
Mm.
Okay. So let's go back to there and
Okay.
let's move on up.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Got called for the interview or whatever you want to call it.
Audition.
The audition.
Uh-huh.
For the audition.
Mm-hmm.
From that point, then they start put me in different situations. I think earlier on, I did a few things, for the OJs, and I think Cry Together. It was Cry Together wasn't one of the first things, but I had recorded some things. That wound up in the can. They got it, pretty good, deposit on some stuff that we had did earlier, and then Bobby Rush, like a blues singer from out of Chicago, and Quentin Joseph came in around the same time, and they were producing his album, and everything started to work out pretty good because we were clicking at that point in time. It was a good solid rhythm section. And from that point on, you say, okay, well, this is working, so why not try it on, some of the other artists? Okay. And lo and behold, we got to, do some things behind some of the other artists like Lou Rawls, the Jones Girls.
Almost the same people you were working with, right, Dennis?
Yeah,
Yes.
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, the same
Yep.
people. Okay.
Yep.
Go
Yep.
continue. Who else? What other artists?
Let me see. I did say Lou Rawls. We did Jones Girls.
Sister Sledge.
Sisters.
stuff?
No. Well,
Was it?
Sister Sledge. That was something altogether
Teddy.
different.
Oh.
Teddy. Yeah,
Teddy?
Teddy. That was
Okay.
the biggest.
Just a little guy.
Yeah. He, Teddy Pendergrass was about the biggest. But anybody that they had over there in their stables that we had.
Dee
Huh?
Dee.
Oh yeah.
Dee.
Yeah.
Don't forget her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Diddy Sharp?
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
So being there gave you an opportunity to work with other artists.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And
Most
that was
definitely.
before you went with the OJs?
Yeah,
Or
that was that happened before I went out with the OJs. How I wound up with the going out with the OJs was, we were doing quite a bit of recording work. Specifically doing, I'm going to say 78 and 79. It was a lot happening then, and they were getting a lot of good feedbacks of from the stuff that we had recorded. So I said, some of the groups were going out saying, the band members that played behind some of the groups were going out saying that they were the ones that was actually doing the recording work And I'm like, oh,
it's
no,
T-Life.
no.
And I'm being truthful.
Well, I'm, like, no. I said I need to go. I need to go out and see, what's happening.
Yeah.
So I went out on the road. I think it was in '79. It was in '79, and because we had just, we had done the "So Full of Love," album, and I went out and. Teddy, he was a monster. I mean, he was really, kicking it out. I mean, they really, really loved him a lot. So, it was like, like the Jays, they were popping at the time, and also Teddy was popping, so they were raking it in. So that's
Philly was killing it, huh?
oh,
Yeah.
Philly was killing it, killing it. I mean, all the artists that we had.
MFSB.
Yeah, everybody.
MFSB.
Everybody was hot.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just everybody was hot. It was like all over the place. I mean, for as you like that name, PIR.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
One of the things Carlos was talking about, like he's got a little radio show here with us, and he tells us that during that time that you're talking about now, some of the artists from outside of Philly would come to Philly to actually
That's
do
correct.
recordings.
Yes, they did.
Right.
I had the opportunity to do some stuff on the Dramatics.
Oh, dramatics.
Yeah.
Okay.
They came in and did 2 songs that
Okay.
one of the popular groups out of Philadelphia called the Futures.
Futures.
Yeah, the
That's what
Futures.
Terry said.
Great,
He was with them.
I know Terry Price too.
yeah.
Yes, I know him very well. Very popular group, and they should have had much more, happening, with them because, like if you like the Temptations, you should have liked them as well,
But there were other groups. I mean, in addition to those you
Yeah.
mentioned, I mean, there were white groups too.
Oh yeah.
Tony
yeah.
Bennett came here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tony Bennett.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Engelbert Humperdinck.
Yeah.
We're talking
Yeah.
some
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know
Engelbert Humperdinck.
Engelbert Humperdinck was from
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
and I ran into him when
came
he
in
was dealing with the
I
with
know
Sister
when they go
Sledge.
down to South Philly, there's a mural of the boys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there were other groups. And a lot of people. Stevie came here. did some
Yeah,
stuff.
that's right. That's right. I forgot about that.
He'd come here to do late night sessions. and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So,
Okay.
but yeah, it was.
Well,
pretty
let me
popular.
say hi to our Facebook family right here. Ron Taylor. Good afternoon, Doris and company. Hi, Ron. How have you been? Okay. Benny Barksdale says,
Hey,
hi,
Benny.
Jimmy. Hi, Doris.
Hey, how you doing,
Okay.
man?
Now, Benny's on the show. And, boy, I can't remember. It's in June. He'll be on the
Okay.
show. Okay. And Carlos
Fantastic musician.
Carlos.
Rayleigh. That's Carlos. Ben Barksdale Jr. and Ron Taylor is on. And Benny says, I'm enjoying the interview, Jimmy. I wish you all the best, my friend.
He's a good brother.
He's a good guy.
Good brother.
And Jessica, my cousin, is on. Hi, guys. Good to see you all. And Benny says, you all are looking good. And then Carlos said, I used to watch Jimmy in the studio back in the day at Sigma and Philly International. He's a bad boy. Carlos, Harold Melvin, and the Blue Notes music director, drummer, longtime big fella Freddie Holiday, and Darren are my boys from the 70s.
Okay.
Okay. Carlos also said, I see you and Dennis. Let me get, what is he talking? Let me get
Watching
that
these.
hat. I'm sitting
He wants you.
in the back seat watching Netflix outside on Carpenter. I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah. It's
And then he
Carlos.
says, Carlos said, Dennis, we'll be playing together at the Clef Club. Oh, next month. On
Oh,
the
he's
20th.
doing that.
Mm-hmm. Is that with Alfie?
That's
That's
it
with
is.
Alfie?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
We got a rehearsal next week.
Oh wow.
Okay,
Okay.
so Carlos
Yeah.
is saying he'll see you.
Okay, see you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I want to just say thank you to OE Boys, one of our sponsors in Southwest Philadelphia. He has a soul food restaurant at 243 South 60th Street. And he asked me to let you know that he has the best soul food there is in Southwest Philadelphia.
What he got? What he got?
He didn't give me a menu.
Oh, he didn't
He
give you
didn't
the
give me a
menu.
menu,
That's
but
old
I
boy.
see people
And I do
going,
soul food.
Old boy?
Old boy.
Oh boy. Okay, so he has his restaurant there, and he told me to tell you to come in and
Okay.
patronize him. So since you're here in Philly, you guys, you can go up there and get something from him. Okay. All right.
He's giving out.
No, you're not giving. I don't think you're giving out anything free.
Yeah,
I'm
he
just
said he ain't
asking.
giving nothing.
I'm just asking.
Okay. So now,
We play for food.
yeah, that would be good. That would be good. I remember when we were up there on 60th Street.
Mm-hmm.
We used to set all the equipment outside. We had a music studio up there, and we used to play with music. We played
Right.
music,
Yeah.
and it would draw such a crowd that it would patronize some of the other stores because the people were all around.
Yeah, you got the only
What?
people over there. Yeah.
60th, and we were at 60th and Locust.
Locust. Yeah.
Locust,
Oh, okay.
right there.
And when we played the music, it was funny because people be walking down the street and then all of a sudden
Yeah,
they
it's
break out
pretty-
into a box.
Right.
With
Yeah.
strangers.
So it's funny up there. Okay. So now, tell me the story after you met Gamble and you started playing and all that. Okay. What happened next?
Well,
Did he tell you that you were going to be playing for the OJs?
well, it was. No, he didn't.
He didn't say that.
No, he didn't say that.
Okay.
You know, pretty much he, like, wanted to keep everything tight. You know what he had because like he had already, or they had already, put together their rhythm section or who they wanted to use
Okay.
because like they were getting consistency at that point in time and like whatever whatever changes that were being made and what have you, in the sound and what have you, he wanted to lock that in and
Okay.
not so much have those set of musicians, playing with, like a lot of the different artists and what have you. But I wanted to, wanted to see exactly how some of the stuff that we were doing was happening, out in the public. And that's what I wanted to see. That's the one reason why, like I went out on the road, not to, like really, get into making a career of, being with them for, forever. So, like, stuff might have stayed a little bit too long.
Yeah, and why did you stay so long?
Because I love what I was doing at the
You
time.
love what you were doing.
Yeah, I mean, because like I was going to different cities, different venues, and I got to, like used to hearing the roar of that crowd.
Oh,
Like
yes.
the roar of the crowd
The
when
applause.
yeah, the
Yes,
applause
yeah.
and all that. That is one of the biggest things that will grab your heart and and like it had me. And
Yes.
it wasn't until I started, having health complications that I had to pull a plug on it.
Yeah, but it was like 40 years,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Now, during that 40 years, you were a studio musician
Yeah.
and a performer. So
Yes.
you did.
Yes,
you
I
did
got a chance
both.
to do both of them. They were both my dreams. I mean, that's, my childhood dream of playing behind one of the larger acts. I mean, Temptations, the Four Tops, and all of that. And I got an opportunity to play, like behind the Jays, for that length of time. But really didn't get a chance to expand on myself. Like what else, can I do? Like to project myself, project myself, and that's where I'm at right now.
Okay.
Like I'm 70 years old. You're never too old. Still got time.
Well, tell me the pros and the cons of staying with the OJs for 40 years. The pros were what?
The pros were, we stayed decent places.
Okay.
Decent rooms. I mean, they didn't slouch on that. That's the one thing I can say.
They ate.
Yeah, well, yeah,
And you traveled.
yeah. We traveled. Yeah, I mean, to
traveled all over
travel.
the world, right?
Travel all over the world. I'm just saying. I mean, it's rough. I mean, it's rough being a road musician.
Okay.
Because
That's a
like
con.
travel, flight wise, you don't have the time to when they say like 2 or 3 o'clock flights and what have you, and you got those shows back to back, and like that's where it gets hectic at. and that's when it kind of like beat me up, and it started to really show itself over time. 69 into 70 wasn't easy. Running through big airports, airports and already getting ready to pass out or whatever, breathing gets short and everything else. So
You can do that when you're 30.
yeah, you
can
all
do
day
that
long when you're 30.
And you play great places, and you get to see a whole lot of different parts of the world. And what have you. But when you get, as you get over time,
I
it gets tough.
That Ampeg amp got a little heavy.
Oh well, that's another thing. I mean, as far as equipment or anything like that, they took care of all of
they
that.
didn't have to
Yeah, the
carry
road-
it.
I mean, the road. I mean, they had backline. Had backline. They made things, I guess. Like they made it as easy as possible. The only thing that I carried pretty much, was my bass and whatever other elements that I might need in order to, deal with the show. But
Foot switches and all that
foot
sort of
switches and all that stuff. But like I said, over time, just like we were saying, from teens, 20s, 30s, 40. When you hit, 50s and 60s, watch out because, like, you're gonna get thrown another kind of curve. I mean, and like I said, you wonder, like how they last so long. I mean, because like certain provisions have to be made for them to even do it because like they do, pretty much the same thing. And like I said, it's everybody's body is not constructed the same.
Right.
It's just not. I mean, it showed me that, the minute that I started having issues, I said, well, like I was telling you, I was having some kind of cramping situation to my upper torso, and I really didn't like that because, and I still haven't yet, put my finger on what that was about, and that was really scary, and it was something medical, and I said, well, I can't do this job.
Yeah.
If I can't do this job, in a healthier situation, then somebody else, have to be able to do it. So, like I said, I didn't been passed over before, with them, at some point in my life, and like I said, I'm good with it.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Yeah. Well, I imagine that you have gained a lot of additional skills working and playing for them. That now you can utilize all those transferable skills to do what Jimmy wants to do. I mean, like, this is your time to now do Jimmy.
Right.
You owe that to yourself to do Jimmy.
Right.
You work with all these artists. You've done your traveling. You played your dues. Did you ever do any songwriting?
I started, believe it or not, I started off doing some of that, like the earlier part when I was with, with the singing group, the Italics. Like I did, I did, some things, and it kind of like, fell to the background once I started, playing, playing music. I'm going to go back at those things. I'm going to go back at them and see, what kind of dust I can shake off that and see what happens.
Yeah, because you and then Dennis, and you both have studios, and I mean, the world's open to you now.
Yeah, but that's one thing. I mean, it's one thing to have a studio. It's what what you make of it. What you're gonna do with with that. I don't know. Like the level of success, if there's to be success, and I don't know. I won't know not until I go and start throwing ideas around and seeing what's usable and see if I can do this.
Yeah, you
and
can do it.
I can do this, and I will. Like I said, like my wife told me, she said, like there's another, ain't no stopping me, ain't no stopping.
Oh yeah, tell me about your experience with McFadden and Whitehead.
Yeah.
These two can work together.
I'm telling you, they have a whole, they have everything.
Well, we have things that we toss back and forth, and we are going to bring about some success some kind of way. We're going to do that.
So when you did the Ain't No Stopping Us Now, You two were together, right?
Yes.
Okay, let's talk
Well, they
about
together
that
now.
story.
Okay.
All right, let's do this.
Okay.
So how did
Just
you
that easy,
Just that
right?
easy. Just that easy.
how did you come about to work with McFadden and Whitehead?
Well, we had done some earlier, like much earlier dates, like stuff with Archie Bell and Archie Bell and the Drells, OJ's. We did some things, and who else? They might have done some things with Patty. I think they might have,
Curtis Mayfield?
No, not
No?
Curtis
Curtis.
Mayfield.
Not
No,
Curtis.
that
Right.
anything Curtis Mayfield that came out of Norman Harris's camp.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I learned like a lot, and both me and him we shared mentally back and forth.
You know, we exchange.
Yeah.
There's some things that
Yeah.
he and I have a way of communicating and running songs by him.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
We actually have that
Good.
thing online where I say, hey, take a listen to this. This is
So that's
this is
excellent.
in the file, and that's how we exchange songs and exchange ideas.
Oh,
and
that's
things
good.
Like that. So it's not as if it's not going to. It's going to happen. We just have to get to the point where we're confident enough to say,
Right.
okay, let's put this out.
Well, get the confidence.
Right.
Chris.
Well,
Get
yeah,
that
get the-
confidence.
yeah, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
build that body of work.
Right.
That's what it is.
Okay.
Right.
Who's Batman? Who's Robin?
Huh? We haven't figured that part
No,
out,
no,
but
not yet.
we're still
Yeah,
working on it. Just getting.
Well, like I said,
Out
God,
of that case.
God struck us, with that hand, and when we did "Ain't No Stopping Us Now" and what have you, just it's just sad that it didn't work out to our favor a lot better.
You recorded that.
Yes.
You recorded, and then did you do any of the performances with them?
No,
No,
never
it's
did
just a
any
recording
performance.
session, right?
No.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
And how did that work out? That was a millions dollar seller,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Ain't
It
no
was a
stopping
biggie.
us now, right?
As is. It's still and it's still like
Commercials.
Like people trying to leech off of it and do whatever they possibly can to get a bite on it. I mean, it's a very, very popular tune, and like I said, you just got other people, that try to use it to their advantage, try to
Yeah.
market it another kind of way,
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of that. I mean, like the way, a lot of guys that are playing bass now and what have you, on YouTube, and they become instant teachers. Well, let me show you this bass line. Ain't no stopping this now. It starts here, and you do this, and the fingers like, no, and I be sitting there, no, you don't even know how that even got started. And my wife one time, she heard my disappointment, and she went on and she told the guy, my husband said, you started in the wrong place, and that ain't he got mad. I don't care who your husband is, what have you. Yeah. This is on Facebook. I mean, you will be surprised. You will be surprised. Go get your own stuff. Go get your own stuff. I mean, when it's all said and done. But like I said, that's what's out there right now. They don't take anybody. I mean, even with Larry Graham. Now, Larry Graham is a great bass player. He's the one that came up with the slap pop, phenomena, and they'll steal that.
Yes.
They will steal that. They don't acknowledge him. They don't, some of them, they don't acknowledge him and say, well, this particular style was created by Larry Graham. Give him all the props that he should get if you're going to, be, like if you're going to use it, be nice. Say something that's, worth saying, instead of, just taking the stuff and just rolling with it.
Yeah. Well, when I talk to the different artists, and I talk to T Life all the time, and that's one of the things that he always talk about. How artists take from each other and don't give the other ones credits, and how they say something that's not always true.
Right. It's one thing to shed somebody else's stuff because you got to grow, and you learn different materials in order to get from where you're at, to the next. I understand that. I'm just saying, just the arrogance of not, saying where, it came from, acknowledging whose stuff. I mean, I look at, like me, I was a, Jameson, I'm still a, James Jameson. James Jameson, one of my all-time favorite, bass players. And Chuck Rainey, he's another one. I mean, these are the people that I admire. And, I mean, there's several more. But those two guys, that's who I admire, as far as playing bass. As far as the slap pop thing, I did that, specifically when I was doing Norman Harris's dates. Norman wanted.
Yeah, now how did Norman Harris influence your career?
Well, I mean, how he influenced my career is by involving me in like some of the work, like the work that he was doing. He really like took me and threw me right into it, and it was he allowed me to grow. Norman was good people. He was good people. I can't say enough of enough good things about him. I mean, because come on. Came in, every artist that he brought in, I had opportunity to work,
Okay,
work
shout
for
out
him.
to Norman Harris.
Yep, big shout out to him.
Okay.
Yep.
And Norman is your cousin, right?
Yeah, he was.
Okay. Well, he was a great man. He helped a lot of people
Yes, he did. He had,
in their musical career.
Yeah.
great influence in Philadelphia.
Yeah, he was.
There's no other way to say it.
Nice cat. I'd never seen him angry. I'd never seen him angry. And I know at some point in time he probably has, but I never saw it. Every time I ever saw him, he was kind of like laughing and smiling or something like that. Nothing out of any anger and what have you.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, that goes to show you that there's good and there's not so good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's people out there in every industry that really cares and some that don't really care.
Right.
So either way, you're going to get your due.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's go into the Musicians Hall of Fame.
Okay.
You were inducted in 2016.
Yep, 2016.
Okay, tell us about that.
Well, still yet, Dennis probably knows a bit more about that.
Okay, Dennis was with you too.
Yeah, we both got
Bobby
inducted.
and okay, let's
we
talk
were
about
all
that.
inducted around the same time.
Well, I think it came about because Philadelphia was such a mecca for doing a lot of stuff. We were talking about that happened earlier, and so I think the Hall of Fame brought in the guys that were in all the places that were like hubs where this stuff was done. It was done in I think L.A., Muscle Shoals. Chicago? Was this Chicago?
Yeah, Chicago, yeah.
Detroit, and Philadelphia. So, we were like one of the last groups of musicians to come in, but we did come in. So they finally recognized us, and they brought us down for
that's
that.
really
good.
Yeah. Okay.
I know I had heard something that it was a board, some sort of.
I don't know who those people were.
Yeah, I don't know either. How they went
I
about as
just
far as
know
the
we
selection.
Oh, the selection, how we...
Yeah, right. And they brought us in 2016.
Yeah.
Well, are you guys excited about your career? I want to see some energy, some excitement, because you've done so
don't you,
much.
Don't you recognize it?
Yeah, come on. The energy level, let's bring it up. You've done so much, and you're still young enough to do so much more.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
You're going to figure it out, right?
Yeah, I'm going to figure it out, then for sure, because, it's wide open right now. And
good.
Like I said, after me leaving that, and it left a big gap, because don't get me wrong, I like, part of my heart or either love what I was doing, and I probably, if my health would allowed it, maybe, no, I wouldn't. I ain't gonna say that. 70 is enough, no.
Well, this guy may feel like he's got 1 foot in the grave.
No, 70. 70 is when you're talking about 70 years old. Like being 70 years old and doing that. I did see some that might be older, and it didn't look good when I was looking at them trying to do. Still out there slap talking me, back, and all that stuff. And I'm like, man, that doesn't look good. I don't want to do that. you know, at 70 years old, I'm thankful that God has let
Yeah.
me see, you know, like today and in any time, you know, beyond that. I mean, he'll help me figure out what I'm going to do. I mean, I don't begrudge anybody, you know, what they do if they got that, you know, that type of time. But I don't want to be 70, you know, like, you know, on somebody's stage, slap popping and what have you.
Well, no, you don't
No, I
want
want
to do
that.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that
I
ain't
think
me.
the idiom grows. You know, it's one of those things where you have to migrate. Like anything else, you have to grow. And it
And
may
you
not be.
continue, right? Continue growing,
Yeah,
right?
it may not be the R&B. We're not talking about, you know, being the 30 or 29
Yeah.
or something like that to do that. But I mean, it has grown. If you notice that a lot of what is considered C jazz now, cool jazz, is nothing but R&B.
Yeah,
that,
pretty
that has
much.
been redone.
Yeah.
You know, it's grown, and believe me, there are some great C jazz artists out there, and they've taken it and gone even further. But that's an opportunity for you to go further and do something that you're familiar with.
And pretty much it's going to be the same process
Yeah.
that we went through when we were dealing with, you know, with Ain't No Stopping Us Now. It's a thought process, and all those juices and stuff get to moving around and what have you, and you're throwing ideas around. Before you know it, then you got something. You got something. Yeah, and like I said, you know, even at 70 years, you know, 70 years of age and what have you, I still have that ability to do that, you know, and I plan on using that. I
Yeah.
want to use that, and I'll get a chance to, you know, like stick my you know, my tongue out at some, you know, individuals they not here, you know, God rest their souls and what have you, but I'm gonna get it.
Go into that bag and pull out
Yep.
another Ain't No
Yeah,
Stopping
that's
Us
what's gonna
Now.
happen. That's what's gonna
Yeah,
happen.
let's go on and let's
It's
get
coming.
that done. Because, I mean, the music world still wants to hear.
That's
They
what
still
I'm
wanna
talking
hear.
about. Right.
Okay?
Yeah,
Whether he's sitting down or standing up, right?
yeah, yeah. That's right. Either or.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we want to do that. Well, now, let's talk about, we know that Norman Harris was one of your
Yeah.
influences.
Yeah.
Who else?
Leon Huff.
Leon Huff.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Okay.
He-
Shout out to Leon Huff.
Big
okay?
big shout out to him, definitely, because like he, you know, like he kind of like would nudge me, or you know, if I was getting in, you know, like, you know, something, you know, like that I shouldn't be in, and he's
Okay.
at the same time, and at the same
Okay.
time, he showed a lot of love, you know, coming out. I mean, even though he's quiet and what have you,
He's a quiet
you
person.
shouldn't get off into that, yeah, whatever. Yeah, I mean, I you know, I have love for him, and you know, like Victor Karstoffen, he's not here, you know, but you know, like he really kind of like was like watching over, you know, like Victor, myself, you know, Keith Benson. You know, anybody that was coming from out of New Jersey, out of Camden, what have you, he kind of like,
East Philly.
Yeah,
East Philly, East Philly. We'll call Camden East Philly.
Do you know Donnie Tatum?
Donnie, yeah,
Okay.
yes I do. I know Donnie very well. Yeah, he's very good. You know, very good. You know, friend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, Donnie.
Very talented.
East Philly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he's from East Philly too. Yeah.
I'm out.
Very talented individual. You know, I got some. You know, I have some individuals that, you know, like they're friends, and Donnie, you know, Donnie is one of them. You know, he's one of them. You know, like we kind of like pay, you know, attention to one another's careers and what have you, compliment or if needed, and you know, he's one of the gems. You know, definitely.
Well, I can just imagine if all you guys got together, and present to this world
Right.
a CD. Okay.
It's not over yet.
No,
It's not
I
over.
just can't wait. I'm excited. I'm excited just thinking
It's
about
not.
it.
It's not over. It's just you know, like a lot of work, and you know, individuals in the right place at the right time. And like I said, with my wife, you know, beat me up with it, and hearing you better get your butt in
That's
there and get me
right.
another one of those. Ain't
What's
no
your
stopping.
wife? Oh, Stephanie.
You know,
right?
Stephanie.
Stephanie, get him, Stephanie.
Give me,
That's
give
right.
me another, get me another one of those. Ain't no stopping us. Yes, honey. Yes, so. Yeah, but yeah, like I said, it's there. We'll get it together.
Now, when you were doing all this traveling,
Mhm.
were you married?
Oh yes,
You were married?
yes.
And you
Yes.
had a supportive family. Because
Yes.
you can't hardly do it without,
Oh, I mean, my family, my
you
family.
can't do it without a
Oh,
supportive.
they would come, like I had maybe about, my sister, she was very, very supportive. My daughters, my whole family, they was pretty supportive. They, at different degrees,
Watch it. Watch
yeah,
it.
no.
Be careful.
I'm being nice at different degrees. Each one of my family members did some things. Stephanie did like did a whole lot of things, and my youngest daughter, my oldest daughter, all of them they were all supportive, and still supportive.
Yes.
They're still supportive. They want to say, what are you going to do next? My oldest daughter, she works at what do you call them? It's like a bank. It's not a bank. I can't think of the other name. But she was very supportive, and got me involved in some things dealing on her job and what have you, which was very nice. So I mean, yes, my family is very supportive.
Okay. Because, when we talk about musicians, some families don't understand.
Right.
And when they don't understand, it makes it hard. But those who...
My dad didn't understand.
Your dad didn't understand?
No, are you kidding me? I mean, I was the, all he knew is my dad was from the South, and
Old school.
real old school,
Takes a special
sharecropping and all that, all that stuff.
Blues and all that, right?
Yeah, he came.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
He wanted you to work?
that's all he knew. I mean, that's what he knew. How
That's how you got the Campbell soup?
Yeah, that's how. I mean, that's right. That's how I got the Campbell soup.
Good.
Yeah, that's right.
My
But
family was there too.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, he was from the South. I know, some of his background on, why he thought that way, and, coming from out of sharecropping, picking the tobacco and all that stuff that they did, during that time, and got a chance to put things, together about, what, his life was like, and what he didn't know about my particular life. He had no patience, for music at that time or anything like that. Because he was too busy trying to support a family the best way he knew how. And I had already, I made a choice about me wanting to be, in the music business. So he just pretty much said, "There's two things you're gonna do if you're gonna stay in my house. You're gonna get out and you're gonna get a job.
Yeah.
If not, then you're gonna exit, Mr. Williams's home. That's the way it came down.
Yeah.
So I told him, before he, was gonna, put hands on or anything. I told him, I said, okay, I'm gonna work, and we, got me a job down, Campbell Soup, and started, through the the lower ranks, and then finally, worked up where he was at, which was making the tops to, making the making tops to the soup cans and stuff. But it paid good money.
That's right.
It paid good money. I mean, y'all laughing, but
No, I do understand.
I'm just saying.
Understand.
If I had a chance at it now, give me that job back.
My Uncle Ronnie was there at Campbell's.
Yeah, that was a good
Ronnie
gig.
Streets.
Yeah, that was a good gig, and but anyway, that was the first time I made enough money where I can actually buy, the instrument that I want. After I saw that Ampeg bass, well, I was done. That was the first axe that I went and got.
Bought.
Yeah, that I bought. I bought a whole rig. I had, bought the bass and what is it, the B15 amp?
yeah.
Yeah, the B15 amp. And it was a
flip top.
flip top, yeah. and it was like a
Flip
you
top.
like a
It did.
Yeah, it did. It had-
You didn't like the custom?
huh?
The custom amps?
No.
I didn't like
There-
them
there
either.
were-
I
No,
didn't like them
no,
either.
no. I didn't like the
No.
custom amp. I'm gonna tell you
No.
one other I didn't.
No,
uh,
'cause remember
particular-
that all that cushion and stuff?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
see, but
Yeah.
that
It was like, what was that?
Yeah, right.
It was that. It was the custom amps. What was it? What was it? Vox.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vox. There was another one, and Sun. I could probably deal with the Sun probably more so than those other
These are
two.
manufacturers.
Yeah,
Right. Ampeg
yeah,
was killing it, though.
yeah. Ampeg
yeah.
was.
It just looked good, you
Yeah.
know. Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
And then you could flip that top over,
Yeah,
and it's a nice,
yeah.
and, you know.
Matter
nice
of fact,
and
I had
compact.
actually had.
Yeah.
I had gotten about 2 or 3 of the amps. I had that first one with the B15 with the flip top, and then they
Yeah.
made one that had dual 15s in the cabinet, and still the same,
Right.
flip top,
Only
nice
weighed
cabinet.
5 pounds, right?
Oh, 5 pounds, yeah, right. Yeah.
What?
And then I
The
finally,
top weighed
Yeah.
more than that.
yeah, you ain't lying. And then I finally got, like that SVT. Good gracious. Then I knew it, I mean, but it was such a big sound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Jimmy, what? I only have like 5 more minutes.
Okay.
So, what inspiring words do you have to someone out there that want to follow into your footsteps?
Check your health first.
Okay.
That's the first thing. That's the first thing I'm gonna say. Yeah, I mean you're laughing, but it's the
It's
truth.
the truth.
It's the truth.
Are you 70?
Right, yeah. I mean, yeah, if you're not 70, but at the
Most people are starting out a whole lot younger.
yeah, but I'm still. I'm gonna say I'm gonna use the same words. Check your health first. Even if you start out young, make sure that you're like, cause complications of like diabetes even at a young age and what have you.
Okay.
You're like that's one, and make sure that's sound, and what you don't know about the music about being a musician or whatever. Go out and find find that like those things that you don't know. I mean, if go to school, get training, get training. It's one thing like to love the instrument like for what it looks like and to play what it looks like while it's on you and what have you. It's another actually to master it. And I think a lot of them have already gravitated toward that kind of information already, because like I see quite a few young musicians and like I said they they're pretty flexible. They're doing some great things.
Okay.
That's pretty much it.
All right. I want to say, and Carlos is saying it's time for us to go, but I got a couple more. Come to the show, Jimmy, at the Clef Club, June 15th. We're playing all the Sound of Philadelphia songs.
Oh, okay.
It starts at 7:30 p.m.
Oh, he's telling
Bring
me
that
something
hat,
I know.
Dennis.
Yeah.
He said,
yeah,
bring
I'm-
that hat.
Yeah,
He said
yeah.
he know
Okay.
he's doing this
And
advertising.
then
Yeah, he's-
Jessica's saying, 70 is good. You're breathing.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You started it.
Well, hey, I'm only telling you how when I hit 70, that's what
Oh,
what's gonna be.
And
Yeah.
Johnny Kroom is saying, hey, Jimmy.
Hmm?
Johnny Kroom joined in, and he's saying, hey, Jimmy.
Okay.
Okay? So, hello, Johnny. We just was talking about you about 10 minutes ago. Okay. So, thanks to Facebook family and friends and the world for tuning in tonight. Thanks to the producer, Gilbert Lomax Jr., to my sponsors, Butch Ingram, Nina Capone, Ellie, and Yasmin McCord. Check out Philly Live Radio 24/7. Listen to your favorite oldies. Tonight, tune in at 8 o'clock on Facebook Live. My guest will be Firestone, an action-packed band with a lot of energy and excitement.
Okay.
And next week, May 16th, we will have the Heal Project. Now, the Heal Project is a different type of name for a different type of performer. And once you hear their music and see them perform, you will understand why the name is called the Healed Project.
Okay.
Okay? Follow me on Facebook, like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Check me out on Instagram. Check out my webpage, and please continue to support our indie artists and keep our music alive. I'm Doris Hall James, and thanks for watching my show.
Alrighty.
alone.